So what are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
I'm trying to get on this lifestyle radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.
What's the matter with that cat there?
Must be full of reefer.
Full of reefer?
Yeah, man.
Mean that cat's high?
Sailing.
Sailing?
Lightly.
We now wander off the beaten path with an update from the Reefer Reporter.
Hello and welcome to the Reefer Reporters. We are live here at lifestyleradio.net. It's July the 25th, and we are your audio digest of Canadian and international cannabis news. This week, Kim Cooper and myself, Al Graham, will talk about and discuss the news that came during the previous week. Hello, Kim. How are you?
Oh, I'm not doing too bad today, Al. It's been a great week of interesting stuff going on in the news, that's for sure.
It sure has been. There was lots to choose from. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, it's difficult to whittle it down to the time that we have allotted to get out the highlights. So let's dive right in. And I think we're starting right here at home, right?
Yes, we are. We're going to start right here in Canada, where CBC is reporting that cannabis-related charges are at an all-time low as legalization nears.
Yeah.
The number of people charged with marijuana crimes in Canada last year was at the 20-year low, a 6-year downward trend.
Yeah, well, I guess some of the police forces around Canada are starting to say, well, you know, what's the point in charging people when we've got legalization on the horizon, which is great to see. I think that's happening largely in the suburban population of major cities around the countryside, but we're not seeing the downward trend in rural Canada, that's for sure.
I don't know. We'll have to see. I know here that they say that the report says that 13,800 people were charged with possession of cannabis in 2017, which is 13,800 too many. Which would be the first, this would be the last year before legalization kicks in, but people are still going to be charged, so it's still going to be a stat created as things go down the road.
Absolutely. We're still seeing charges laid in Northern Ontario on a regular basis. So hopefully this downward spiral trend that we're seeing now will continue. Because really, what's the point in clogging the courts with some of these insignificant charges when legalization is right around the corner?
As I said, there was 13,800 that were charged with possession in 2017. In 2011, 28,000 people were charged. So it's less than half.
Less than half. Great to see. Great to see that kind of trend happening, and hope it continues for sure. Yeah.
Well, the police they say that their main focus has been on the opiate crisis, and as you say, the officers are probably using more discretion as legalization comes closer.
It's funny that they're concentrating more on the opiate crisis, and the opiate crisis in particular. A lot of people are using cannabis to resolve that crisis. So it's interesting parallels there.
Okay, now you just talked about the North and how you're victimized up in the North that hasn't got there yet. Well, according to this report, the largest decrease occurred in Northern Ontario communities.
So the stats prove me wrong. It's not something that we see on a regular basis here. So, I mean, I guess maybe the stats will prove me wrong there, I guess. Our particular community is not seeing the result of that, though.
Well, they say Thunder Bay and the greater Sudbury area, they dropped 40%.
Right on. Well, that's awesome. It's encouraging news to see that maybe people in the North and the police forces in the North are coming around and seeing the light of the misuse of police resources when it comes to cannabis matters in general. Great news for the North then. I stand corrected.
Well, on the flip side of things, Barrie and Kingston, Ontario, which is close, not exactly super close to me, but close enough to me, and Saguenay, Quebec, they have the largest. They actually have increased possession
Wow.
charges.
Wow. Not good for people in the Barrie area, I guess. And that's a
No.
former area that I used to live in as well before we migrated north. We were in that area. So, yeah, I guess I chose the right direction.
Yeah. 4,000 people were charged with trafficking in 2017. And in 2001, 11,000 people were charged with trafficking.
Wow. Amazing numbers.
Production and importation, 883 in 2017. And you're looking at 5,000 at 2000.
But I mean, respectively, 11,000 and 5,000 that have happened. Isn't that still, 11,000 too many?
Correct. Yes, it is. It is. It does show a decrease in them, but yeah, you're absolutely right. I agree. Still too many.
Still 11,000 too many, in my opinion.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Well, hopefully next year we got some zeros on the board.
Yeah, for sure. In connection with, that was partly about the opiate crisis.
Right.
And our next story kind of ties into that.
That's right. We sort of I touched on this with Irene last week, and I know you want to touch on more with it this week, and that's the fact that Ontario is advising that patients seek opioids instead of cannabis.
Yeah, which is very distressing to me. There's some patients out there, cannabis as a medicine, as the first go-to medicine to try instead of using pills and harsh pharmaceuticals is becoming more popular with a large majority of people as, the information about cannabis as a medicine gets out there. More people are educated and they're saying, well, it makes sense. I don't want to use these pills. I want to use cannabis as a medicine. Well, Ontario insurance boards, the Workplace and Safety Insurance Board, they're refusing to cover cannabis as a medicine, and they're pushing doctors and patients alike and saying, no, you've got to use these drugs. You've got to use the opiates. Yeah,
it's odd how they prefer to force drugs, which are obviously more dangerous than cannabis, onto people, and especially at this time when there's a North America-wide epidemic.
That's right. The entire country is facing an opiate epidemic. This begins with patient prescriptions. You've had an injury of some kind. You've had a medical procedure done of some kind. The go-to thing is to write you a prescription for an opiate. You're on this now for an extended period of time. It's already been proven that doctors write these prescriptions for over twice as long as what is needed. Well, now by the time that prescription is done, you're already dependent. Yeah. So you've created a new person into the opiate crisis, entering into that kind of a life and what all of what that brings, which is just devastation across the board. We know this already. Cannabis is offering a solution to that and to stop this in its tracks and prevent the opiate crisis from patient zero here. And we've got places like WSIB saying, no, take the opiates.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they say at WSIB, they say that they are focused on limiting exposure to the harms associated with opiate use and lowering risks of addiction. So far, we have reduced the number of WSIB drug claims for opiates by 47%. So how did they do that?
Well, most of those patients, more than likely, have gone to cannabis.
Yeah.
And they're just paying for it themselves, like a lot of people will choose to get the money out of pocket somehow, and patients get donated product. There's all kinds of, help around the board for patients that can't afford it and low income. A majority of people that are sick and tired of these pills have chosen to use cannabis and pay for it out of pocket, which is completely wrong.
Yeah, completely. Exactly. I'm an example. I've gone through my condition for 15 years with Crohn's disease and never had a prescription for opiate drugs while I've been out of the hospital. Just used cannabis.
Yeah, that's right.
I haven't become a statistic for either for someone overdosing on it or being addicted to it.
Yeah, Yeah, and I mean, I was one of those statistics at one time. I was taking handfuls of pills every day. I was over 16 pills a day plus patches, 125 milligrams of fentanyl, plus handfuls of pills. I was a couch potato. It took me years to get off that stuff, and it was very, very difficult. I don't think I would have been able to do it without cannabis, and cannabis sustains me now. If I have an injury or anything like that, the doctor's go-to thing is to write a prescription. I've refused them all over the years and said, no, it's okay. I'll take care of my pain management myself. Thank you.
Yeah. Let's hope that maybe some of these patients that are forced on the opiates, once legalization comes in, that they'll be able to get some source, of cannabis. If they don't know where a dispensary is, they'll learn where a new store will be, and they'll look at it as being legal and won't be concerned about going in. And they can get access to some cannabis and try to reduce their opiates.
Yeah, some pharmaceutical representation. We've got insurance companies across Canada now. Some of them, Sun Life is one of them, are offering cannabis benefits to claim on your benefits package if you're employed. But that's only if your employer chooses to add that coverage on. So even if you're insured by Sun Life, if your employer says no to that coverage, then you will not be covered, even though Sun Life offers it. So you have to double check with your employer. But we need places like WCIB in Ontario. We need these places on board with supporting cannabinoid therapy as a medication, as an alternative to opiates, to help decrease this epidemic.
Yes, that's right. All right, let's move on to our next story.
Absolutely. Staying once again in Ontario, we're going to talk a little bit about the legalization coming up. And how ready is Ontario, Al?
I feel like we're lagging so far behind right now because it's gotten to the point where the provincial government isn't even signing leases anymore for those 40 stores that they thought they would open.
Yeah, not a single lease is going to be signed. Everything has been put the brakes on. It's called a freeze, the big Ontario freeze in the cannabis industry. No leasing's being signed. Nothing is being done. No stores are being renovated. No plan is in action.
No, exactly. There is no plan. We're all just sort of going, okay, what's going to happen?
Yeah. Still tight-lipped from the brand newly formed PC government that runs Ontario now. There's been a little bit of hint dropping that it might wind up going to the private sector and over the government-run stores, but we still no rollout yet.
No rollout at all. It's crazy, but I guess we're going to find out over time, see what happens here. Hope, I mentioned before, October 17th is legalization date. They're supposed to have something in place by then, and we'll see if our premier comes out with a plan.
Yeah, he says that he's promised consultations about the retail model, but he didn't provide any details. I mean, we're kind of way past the point of consultations now. We're a matter of a handful of weeks here away from legalization on a federal level, and Ontario still doesn't even have a plan.
No, I know it's ridiculous, and this is the time though, while they're trying to come up with a plan, for people to get involved, to voice their opinions, contact their MPPs in the Premier's office and let them know what they want.
Yeah, exactly. Speak up. If the people running office in your particular community, whether you have a mayor's office, an MP, an MPP living close by, whatever the case may be, it's up to you to let these people know what it is that you want in your community, because guaranteed the assenters and the people that don't want it in your community, they're talking.
Oh, yeah, you see that all. You can see that all over the news.
Yeah, absolutely. They're talking. They're saying, hey, what are you doing? And we don't want this in our town and blah, blah, blah. And when you have over 50% of the people in the town that actually want that because it could mean for an economic boom in your particular neighborhood and take advantage of it for a prosperous community in the future for all, then you have to tell them that. Because if they don't hear you, they do not know.
So we got less than 90 days to do this. The
Yeah.
OCS still says on their website that they're going to have 40 bricks and mortar stores in 2018.
Yeah, I think the OCS needs to update their website. I think they just are afraid to because they don't exactly know what to put there, except we're in transition and we haven't got a bloody clue.
They've already changed the person who's running everything. They got a temporary person in there now.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that'd be
the old guy's been ousted. New guy's been put in. That's part of the Ford regime, of course. But I mean, until he's given direction, his hands are tied as well.
They say here that when asked directly, Ontario was still committed to the public sector model that the previous Liberal government decided on. And the finance minister spokesperson was only say that the government has been working to launch a cannabis retail and distribution system to meet the federal legalization timeline by October the 17th. Ontario will be ready with a system in place that meets the objectives of protecting youth and eliminating the illegal market.
What about the children?
Yeah, and there they go. They just said about following the LCBO model.
Yeah.
So
that's currently the plan, is following the LCBO model. There has been hints out of the Ford camp that they're looking at privatization and possibly allowing others to become involved. We'll have to wait and see. It's a waiting game with Ontario, which is completely sad, considering we are the largest province in this country.
Yeah,
and we also hold, our national, our province is the national emblem for the country. So Ottawa is housed in Ontario, and here we have no plan.
Well, according to OPSU, the union representing them, they say that they don't think there's going to be a change in the model. So far, we're not being served notice or told that there's anything being changed. Last we heard, they're just going to leave it alone and let it develop and see how it goes.
Wishful thinking on OPSU's part, I think.
So we'll find out.
They're holding the opinion. No news is good news, but I mean, I don't know. Ford, in his start of his campaign, was in favor of an open system for all and allowing everybody to have a fair shot at running a cannabis industry shop in Ontario. So whether or not he holds true to that, we don't know yet.
Yeah, don't forget he said that before he got his wrist slapped by party leaders. He
got spanked by party leaders for that. But now that he's in power, I mean, it's Ford. Who the hell knows what Ford's going to do?
I don't know. Yes, we're not getting into politics, and not that. Bite my lip. Okay, let's move on to our next story.
Yes.
What's this? Cannabis countdown. Paradoxes and peculiarities. Go ahead.
Paradoxes and peculiarities in legalization of pot. And this is happening, of course, in Montreal. Montreal is riddled with some really stringent rules that the rest of the country hasn't seen.
Yes, they have been. But this fall, I'm not. Do you want to try to pronounce that? This place has become one of the first colleges in Quebec and only one of two in Canada to offer a degree in how to grow and harvest cannabis.
Yeah, it's my French is not good. La Tueuse? I don't know. I'm not even going to attempt it. My French is not good. My French neighbors are going to laugh at me later.
Probably.
Yeah, for sure. But I can't say this name. It's a college in Quebec. It goes by a French name, and it starts with a L-OUT. And it goes on from there. But anyway, it's a college. They're under some pretty heavy regulations. They're going to actually be studying cannabis as a plant and as a crop. But there's some roadblocks with their study.
Yes, there is. Even though they're going to learn a bunch of things, they're not even going to allow to be able to touch the stuff.
Yeah, no touching, no smelling, and no coming in contact with the actual plant.
That's right. Exactly. And how do you, I guess maybe you just read things in books.
Farming by book. Yeah, that works really well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Everybody out there that can read a book cannot now become a farmer. I mean, no, of course not. You need hands-on facilitation with this. We have grow classes taking place across the country. There's one in Toronto that's operated by the Hot Box. Hot Box has expanded to its grow operation and hydroponic store, and they teach classes there held by Matt Myrna on a monthly basis. I mean, of course, you have to have hands-on material in order to know what the hell you're talking about.
So here you got a college in Quebec that's teaching students about cannabis, but yet here you got the province that's spending millions of dollars, running ads.
Yeah.
Worrying about the dangers of cannabis. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, from March to April, they ran ads raising awareness to the dangers proposed by marijuana consumption, particularly the brains that aren't fully developed yet. The 30-second clips with the same phrase over and over again. You can have fun without it, just like me. Really?
Well, you can. I have lots of fun with those.
Absolutely,
cannabis.
I have lots of fun without it. But I mean, millions of dollars for these ads being spent, and here you've got it at a university, and the people can't even touch the plant.
Yeah. No. You just don't know. It could be. It's harmful to you. Maybe they're worried about if these college students are under the age of 25 by touching the plants, that's going to have an effect on their brain development.
It's going to damage their brain. They're not going to be able to finish college if they touch it.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. All right. Let's do one more. Let's do one more article, and then we'll move on to our break.
Yeah, sounds good. We're going to run over to Manitoba, I think, aren't we?
Yes, we are. Which, here in Ontario, like we say, we don't even know if we're going to have a store yet, But here in Manitoba, or in the province of Manitoba, they aim to boost the number of stores in their province. Already. They're
looking at increasing the stores. Where's Ontario again? Oh, yeah. That's right.
We're going to be going to Manitoba.
If you're in Thunder Bay, you can.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
People in Thunder Bay are all set now. Blaine Peterson, Minister of Growth, Enterprise and Trade, announced Monday that the government has issued a request for pre-qualifications to expand opportunities for retail cannabis stores.
That's right. They want to make it more convenient, or make it as convenient as possible for people to be able to buy their cannabis.
Yeah, great stuff coming out of Manitoba, which is a big 360 compared to where they were this time last year.
Their goal is to eliminate, and you're hearing this from all the governments, to eliminate the black market. But they want to have, within 2 years, they want to have 90% of people in Manitoba to be able to drive 30 minutes or less to a store.
Yep.
Yeah. Here in Ontario, we're going to be traveling hours.
4 to 6 hours for us.
Yeah, and that was when we knew where they were going to be.
Yeah, and now we don't even know if they're going to even be there, so probably more.
All right. Okay. Well, they're going to. They got 30 locations already.
Yeah, they've got 30 locations already. They're also encouraging Indigenous communities and retailers to participate as well. They've got a great strategy in place, and a retail strategy, and they say that they're keeping their promise to establish a competitive retail environment that creates new economic opportunities for all Manitobans.
Yeah, exactly. And it's good to see. There is. One of the Cree Nations is getting involved in the retail end of things.
Yep.
Yeah. They've entered into an agreement with one of the licensed producers.
Yeah, I mean, they've got some good stuff, initiatives going on in Manitoba. Ontario could definitely take a cue from Manitoba as well as Edmonton, Alberta, province of Alberta as well. They've got some good stuff going on in those two particular provinces, which is really surprising considering the stand that those particular provinces had pre-legalization.
Yeah. That's right. Well, see, all we can do is they'll have see all these stores all of a sudden appear, and here in Ontario, hopefully they go to maybe they'll start with the private and end up adding the public quickly afterwards, and we won't have to drive to Manitoba to get our medication.
Yeah,
or cannabis. Let's hope. Yeah. Okay, Kim. Well, it's break time. Time for us to go get some medication.
Yes, dab time for me.
Okay, this week we got a news clip from CBC News in Los Angeles. These news clips aren't just yesterday, they're usually older ones. And then we're going to hear a bit from a chief who's going to be telling everyone to puff, puff, pass. You're listening to Reefer Reporters. We are live here at lifestyleradio.net.
Just days after recreational marijuana sales began in California, the Attorney General's decision could dampen the spark that ignited the pot industry's massive growth. Today, Jeff Sessions rescinding an Obama administration policy which largely shielded legalized marijuana from federal intervention, allowing prosecutors to enforce federal law that prohibits pot sales.
It's been busy nonstop. As soon as the doors open, we have people waiting.
But in Los Angeles, they're already rolling in green. The budding industry expected to harvest $1 billion in taxes within a few years.
I expect lines out the door, and I expect the sun to come up and people to enjoy their cannabis.
With California set to become the largest market for marijuana, recreational pot is legal under state law in 8 states and the District of Columbia. Some experts say the impact of today's move, while uncertain, may be limited.
The idea has always been to prioritize the most dangerous, the most violent, and the most difficult criminal organizations. Nothing about rescinding the policy will change that.
Sessions, who's long fought marijuana legalization, called it a return to the rule of law.
Good people don't smoke marijuana.
But today's decision doesn't clear the air where pot is sold. Miguel Almaguer, NBC News, Los Angeles.
Are you looking for cannabis news, education, and people's opinions? Are you looking to learn what Canadian and international cannabis advocates are doing, not only now, but what got them to this point in their lives, and what does the future hold for them? Do you want to learn how patients are using cannabis as their daily medication, or learn how their cannabis use helps them with their medical condition? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then I'm going to suggest to you to tune in to Lifestyle Radio. Catch their live weekly shows and have your questions and concerns answered and find the experience you're looking for. Monday, catch your weekly news broadcast with the Reefer Reporters. Then on Wednesday, get several hours worth of cannabis public education. We get things started with cannabis and coffee with marijuana. Then tune in and catch Pottawa with Russell Barth, who calls himself the world's angriest pothead. Finish up your evening with the award-winning Pace Radio Show with Al Graham and joint host Kim Cooper and Alicia Yashishin. No week would be complete without tuning into Friday night's program, the 420 Radio Show featuring Al Rapp and the 420 Radio crew, Mary Jane Baker and Marcel Gagnac. Cannabis is a lifestyle, and you can catch all your cannabis lifestyle information right here at lifestyleradio.net or at our sister site, 420radio.ca.
Celebrate Indigenous Awakening at Legacy 420's first outdoor music fest, August 11th on the Tyendinaga Mohawk territory.
This one's about rock and roll and comic books and bubblegum.
Featuring Headstones, DJ Shove, Derek Miller, and more, with host MC Howie Miller. Opening drum ceremony at 12 noon. Medicinal, food, and Indigenous vendors and artists. Free camping. Tickets $75 at legacy420.com. A 19 and over event. Indigenous Awakening, Saturday, August 11th on Tyendinaga Mohawk territory. Take Highway 401, exit 556.
Sponsored by NIMCA and Legacy 420.
Indigenous Awakening and Legacy 420 have just announced a price reduction. All tickets are now available for $50.
Well, certain things should be implied. Smoking weed with your friends. 'Cause everybody just wants to get high. What goes around will come around again. But occasionally you will see some asshole who's bogarting. Well, tell him puff, puff, pass. Don't sit there and hold it. Take a hit, then give it back. 'Cause we all want to smoke it. Light that fire underneath your ass. It's puff, puff, pass.
Okay, we're back from our quick medication session. Better get that tongue twister out. And it's time to get right back at her. But first, I think you've got something you want to say, Kim?
Yeah, apparently we've got a little bit of a shout out. One of our listeners chimed in on our live chat that yes, we do get a hold of our live chat messages when we're on the air. So hi, shout out to Cohen, who's in Timmins and listening to our podcast live today. So hey, Cohen, how's it going? And congrats again on your big win at the Smoke on the Water movie night held in Timmins as part of our educational summer series.
What did Cohen win?
He won all kinds of prizes. Actually, he was the biggest winner of the night. He won 3 of our draws. We had 5 draws in total, and Cohen walked away with 3 of them. So he got the door prize, which was a Legacy 420 t-shirt and lovely gift tray that was put together by the manager at Legacy 420. And I think he also won the vape pen that was donated. And the third prize, what was the third? Oh, the tea. Mary's tea, along with Legacy 420 tea and teas made by the MJ Creams Company as well. So there was a variety of manufacturers of teas package in there. So yeah, he won all 3 of those.
Good stuff. Way to go. Way to go. He had a good day out.
Yeah. We had an awesome night watching movies and talking and passing on some education. It was a fantastic night. We're going to be repeating that night in August, at the end of August 25th again. So I'm sure Cohen and more will be there for their chance to win some more great prizes.
I'm sure they will be. All right, on to the news. Let's head over to Halifax.
Yeah, all the way down to the East Coast. Halifax. Halifax is trying to get some bylaws going, and they're perpetuating the stigma, they say, and it fails to consider medical cannabis users.
That's right. It sure does. In a vote of 13-1, they come in with the restrictions on where people can smoke cannabis, and these include restrictions on where people smoke cannabis. They can't smoke in municipal parks and not on any municipal property, including streets and sidewalks, which is very, very important. And that is because the ban applies to everyone, including those with medical cannabis.
Yeah, they seem to think that they can override federal law here and mandate where prescription users can take their doctor-prescribed medication. And that's what this is, people. It's doctor-prescribed medication. You might as well mandate where a diabetic can inject insulin and say, no, you're having a diabetic coma or going into a diabetic coma or a diabetic seizure. No, you can't have your insulin here on the street. You better go on home and do it there.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. They're going to set up smoking areas, designated smoking areas. They're going to put signs.
Yeah. I mean, it's just ridiculous. We fought in court for patients' rights. This has been going on for a very long time. It got started in the 80s in the courts. We finally won rights. I mean, justice after justice has said patients' right to use their prescription overrides everything else. We've had this decision come down in every court we've ever attended. To me, this community, this province trying to override federal law is completely unjust to patients, and it needs to once again see the inside of a courtroom.
Well, the municipal staff cite the dangers of secondhand smoke as the driving reason behind these bans. Secondhand cannabis smoke?
Yeah, well, it's already been proven that that's not as a danger. There's no carcinogens there. You're not going to get cancer. You're not going to get anything that goes hand in hand. You cannot equate cannabis smoke to the wretched tobacco smoke that's inside manufactured cigarettes in today's world. That's filled with, carcinogens and benzenes and all kinds of toxins that are not in cannabis.
Yeah, that's right. Well, according to one of the persons they spoke to from, I believe, a cannabis producer, they say they don't understand why the same exception wouldn't apply to some of the smoking provisions, perhaps because they obviously turned their mind to, for growing, they've allowed a medical exception. They have growing restrictions for bylaws, but they make exceptions for medical people. So why don't they make exceptions for those that are consuming cannabis as well?
Absolutely.
For the patients.
Absolutely. Patients across this province are going to be faced, with basically being house ridden. You're telling me because this is my medicine, I can't go out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Well, Marian Gillis, who this person is, the producer is, she's also a lawyer. And she says that medical users will be justified in imposing the ban. It's a human rights legislation, might also be used to help protect the medical users.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And it's sad how much of this we're going to see played out in the courts because, municipalities and even provinces are enacting these unjust laws.
Well, the law is the law, how they talk about, permeating stigmatization. She mentions that the law itself, the way the language is used, they use the word weed.
Yeah.
They don't use the word cannabis.
No.
They use weed.
Yeah.
So does that mean, any weed?
Yeah, well, I mean, for that matter, tobacco is a weed, right? Everything
That's
is
right.
a weed.
Weed.
Everything is a weed. What isn't a weed? Because we think it's got a pretty flower, we've deemed it a flower.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah.
Are medical patients going to be busted for smoking a joint as they walk down the sidewalk because they're living in a place that doesn't allow cannabis to be consumed and they can't go to the local park because it's illegal for them to go there?
Yeah, well, I can see cannabis patients, or I at least hope that cannabis patients once again en masse take to the streets and stand up for their rights and say, you know what, you're going to charge me, because this has to play out in court once again. And once again, another community is going to have to get a spanking by the federal court.
Well, they're going to hire 40% more municipal staff who deal with bylaws so that they can go around and hand out fines from $25 to $2,000. And they're relying on people to call in and file a complaint.
Yeah, well, let's see how good that works.
Yeah.
We'll be revisiting this story in the future. I can guarantee you that.
Oh, I think so too. I think so too. All right, let's move on to our next one.
Yeah, we're going to run back to Ontario.
We've been going on the whole show about here in Ontario, we won't have any regulations in, or we don't have any presently right now. We don't know what's going on the road. And our friend, Wayne Matheson, owner of CannaDaze, he has a solution. He wants to be part of the marijuana marketplace, he says.
Yeah, him and several others, but this one focuses solely on Wayne. We all know and love Wayne Matheson, of course, as you said, from CannaDaze, which, as most people know, Pace Radio Show broadcasts live from the CannaDaze front window. That's where Al sits every week on the Pace Radio Show on Wednesdays. So he'll be there again tonight. Wayne's a great guy, and innovators of all kinds, including Wayne, want in on this. I mean, he says, he runs he runs a head shop. He runs a head shop. And so he sells, paraphernalia, bongs and seeds and whatnot, and cannabis paraphernalia, consumption paraphernalia. So he says, I have to card people to make sure they're 19 years old when they go into his store to make a purchase. Well, if he's trusted for carding people for that, why shouldn't he be trusted for carding people and sell the actual cannabis product that goes into the apparatuses that he sells?
That's right, exactly. You know, as he says, if he has to ask for ID, you know, the people come around from the county have come and visited the store. When he first got set up, he talked to them about the smoking laws and all that stuff. And so if he can do that, then obviously he's got to be qualified to be able to ask someone for ID for cannabis.
That's right. And it makes perfect sense for cannabis flower and actual cannabis related products to be sold hand in hand with things that we use to consume it. These people are already asking for ID. They're already carding people. We're making sure it's an adult-only shop. So it's already the prime environment for the product to be sold. You've got educated people, for the most part, behind these counters that know what they're talking about, and they're well aware of how to use the product and the apparatuses to consume the product. It should be sold hand in hand, for sure.
Yeah, he wants to open a lounge section in his store.
Fantastic.
That could be all part of these changes that are coming down the road. So he's hoping that Doug Ford changes things.
Yeah, an all-in-one retail market. Add a lounge into the back of the store. Here you go. You can buy your product. You can buy your bong or your vaporizer, and then you can go in the back and you can sit down and consume what you just purchased. I mean, to me, that's the ideal model.
That's right. Yeah. It's all right there. So he knows how to do it all. So let's see what happens. Yep, that was in the Trent Hills Now article by Sue Dickens. And Sue, just so you know, Sue has been very supportive of the cannabis community over the years. She has written several articles involving myself and Wayne, and she even made sure that she got a plug in the article for the Pace Radio Show.
That's awesome. Yeah, I saw that at the bottom there. Pace Radio Shows mentioned. That's awesome. Gotta give some love out to Sue for sure. Thanks for being a part of reporting the truth.
Exactly. All right, let's head on to some international news.
Yeah, we're gonna take a look at an article out of the Bloomberg, and they're looking at some Willie Nelson brands coming to Canada.
Yes, one of Colorado's largest recreational cannabis companies is planning on coming to Canada, and they are going to go public in Toronto.
Yeah, they're coming out of us from Live Well Enlightened Health LLC. They're planning a series of deals that including taking over some management of Calgary-based cannabis firm and reverse takeover investment of a company called Target Capital Inc. And that's how they're going to mainline Willie weed right up here in Canada.
Yeah, that's right. Willie's Reserve. It's the U.S. country singer's namesake of cannabis brand. And they are hoping to bring it here to Canada.
Yeah, so interesting stuff with some cross-border international exchanges going on. I know some of Canada's cannabis is going down to the States for their medical needs down there. So it looks like we're going to get some of the Americans' own strains out here in Canada as well.
Yeah. Well, I know Toby Keith. I believe it was Toby Keith and another fellow there. They've got a song out there. And they say that they'll never smoke cannabis with Willie again.
Yes, never smoke weed with Willie again. Very popular at all of our events. That song is actually played on our regular track at all of our events. Everybody loves that song. So I'm happy to hear about this because I'm anxious to try it. I mean, I don't want to participate in the legal market or buy anything in the legal market at all because I'm against it. But if they bring in something like this, that may tempt people like me to go in to just sort of check it out.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting. See what happens. Time will tell.
Yeah. So I wonder if that crossed their minds at all with marketing. You know, knowing how against the LP system. A lot of us hardliners are and are refusing to participate with the LP system. Perhaps bringing stuff in from the states that we don't know or really have access to would be a way to get around that.
Yeah. It would be. That's right. Okay, let's move on again. We have a fella here by the name of Tim Ryan. He is a representative down in the U.S., and he believes that cannabis should be legal in all the states.
Yeah. He says Americans, there are almost 4 times likely, black Americans or non-white Americans are almost 4 times likely to be arrested for marijuana possession than white Americans are. He says he has seen this firsthand in his district, and it's enough already. He wants it legalized nationwide to stop the systemic racism through arrests for cannabis.
Now, he says that they are the 15th highest incarceration rate in the U.S. They're only the 15th. And that puts 70,000 people in Ohio behind bars. I hate to see what number 1 is.
Yeah, I mean, think about those numbers. I mean, that's astronomical amounts of people that are funneling through the legal system in the U.S. Because of a plant. Tim Ryan has been a proponent for cannabis equality and rights across the board for some time now, and he used to be against it.
That's right. He is the co-chair of the House Addiction Treatment and Recovery Caucus. He has been hesitant in the past to support legalization of cannabis, but after meeting with countless families and youth whose lives have been harmed by cannabis arrests, he says that he finds the social and economic injustices of our cannabis policy too big to ignore.
Yeah.
He firmly believes that no person should be sentenced to a lifetime of hardship because of cannabis arrest. And, sure, maybe they're in jail for a month, but it's still a lifetime because now they're banned from so much because
because they've got a criminal record. I mean, down in the States, you're filling out an application to fill coffee cups in a coffee house, and they've got a box there. And have you been convicted of a felony? And if you tick yes, you're not going to get hired. And that's just the simple fact of the matter. And cannabis arrests in the United States are a felony. This man goes on to say, he says, we need to invest in a country that works for all Americans. We need every citizen working to keep America working forward. Instead, we are keeping 1 in 5 Americans off the economic playing field, and the majority of them are people of color.
Yeah, exactly. They're incarcerating young men and women instead of educating and empowering them. He says that studies have shown that cannabis legalization could save almost $8 billion in averted enforcement costs. Okay, hang on here. Pause for a second. Here we are in Canada. We're hearing about legalization, and all we're hearing from our police forces is more money, more money. And here, this guy is talking about saving billions in enforcement costs.
Well, that's because he's looking at, deregulation and legalization not as a money-making scheme, and the way Canada has done it, like a lot of people like to call it, legalization 2.0 or prohibition 2.0 and this kind of thing, because, our legalization, we have it coming, but it's far from perfect. We still are criminalizing people and putting people in jail for 14 years, arrests and fines and regulations, and the rules from one place to another are astronomical. So what Ryan here is saying is, legalization across the board, let's eliminate the criminality in all of this, and let's move on to things that more require our attention, which is, in my opinion, the right way to go.
Yeah, he says that Congress can change this by passing the Marijuana Justice Act, which is legislation that would remove cannabis from the Schedule I drug designation. And it would also eliminate all criminal penalties for an individual who imports, exports, manufactures, distributes, or possesses with the intent to distribute cannabis. It would create economic opportunity for communities devastated by mass incarceration. It's creates a $500 million community reinvestment fund.
Yeah,
So,
and that'll provide jobs and training for, the entire legal industry.
yeah, exactly. Well, let's hope that there's more U.S. representatives that will get on board on all that. And Tim Ryan is a Democrat as well, so I should mention that.
Yeah, of course he is.
Yeah.
Of course he is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And from there, we're going to move on to New Jersey.
That's right. In New Jersey, the state lawmakers are warning of sex toys and oils with marijuana if recreational cannabis is legalized. There you go.
So from one end of the spectrum to the other, now we have a New Jersey state senator, and he's saying, it's going to be just, turmoil. There's going to be sex toys and oils and paraphernalia all over the place. If you legalize marijuana, it's just going to be a shit show.
Yes, that's right. And the senator here, Ronald Rice, he's a Democrat. He says that he believes that cannabis is a gateway drug and claimed that when recreational cannabis is legalized, the number of people who use drugs will go up substantially. He says, in fact, if we legalize recreational cannabis right across the street from my office, they're going to put up stores. They want to call them dispensaries, but they're going to be stores that do retail, and they're going to sell cupcakes with cannabis and candies with cannabis and sex dolls and oils with cannabis, lipstick with cannabis. Can't have that, can you?
Kids can't get a hold of that. Oh my God. Where is this guy from? I don't know where this guy's from, what planet this guy's from, but oh my God, where do these people get these ideas? I don't understand. This is 2018, right? We didn't go back in time to 1950 while I was napping.
Yeah. Well, it depends on what some people do. And the fact that this guy's a Democrat is really throwing me off here too.
Yeah. This guy is a Democrat as well. But I don't understand the state of mind at all. Where does this guy get his information?
I don't know. Sam?
It's just too comical, his stand. He apparently has been long opposed to marijuana legalization and is the leader of the New Jersey's Legislative Black Caucus, which has similarly held up efforts to legalize the drug, according to NJTV.
Yeah, well, he wants another assemblyman, J.Mo Holy.
Yeah.
He says that he will not support cannabis legalization bill unless there's language in there to support expungement. He says those individuals who look like me and those individuals who do not look like me that are incarcerated for little small portions of cannabis shouldn't be.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Well, thank God for Jamie or Jamel Holy. He's speaking, I think, for a large portion of the population that places that are looking at legalization and implementing legalization, whether it's independent states or entire countries. Many are asking the same question. What about the people that are in jail for that reason right now? What about the people with records for that reason? And now we have legalization and they are still paying the price for when it was illegal. We have to address that as well.
That's right. Well, here we have a guy who believes he's worried about sex toys with cannabis. And here we have a follow-up, another report here on Billy Caldwell from England or Ireland.
Yeah.
We've reported on this situation a few times. We believed the last time we spoke about him that everything was going to look pretty good, that he was going to be able to have his cannabis at home because they had him taken in the hospital, and then they got him so he was taken at home. There was some approvals, some licensing going on. What is the update, Kim?
Oh, poor Billy Caldwell. This poor little boy. His mother, of course, quick overview, came to Canada, got him prescribed from Ireland. He got his cannabis oil prescription filled. She took it back to the UK and to Ireland. Her medication was confiscated at the border. Of course, Billy became drastically ill, wound up hospitalized on his deathbed. Government became involved and decided to push an order through and release the medication to Billy. Billy was subsequently put into rehab. He slowly made it home. It looked like the government was making the laws happen so that this would never happen to Billy again. He would always receive his medication. Everything was in place to happen. And then, boom, somebody dropped the ball. They had certain amounts of time periods to get all of the paperwork done. Papers need to be filed for the transfer of the medication to come over the border to refill Billy's prescription so that he could just get it sent to him by shipping from the company here in Canada. The paperwork was not put in time. It missed the deadline. Now Billy has to endure the trip from Ireland back to Canada to get his refill of medication once again so he doesn't run out.
He's going to travel 3,000 miles to get his medication. Like, this isn't a case of whether it helps him or not. They've proven that it's a huge benefit for him. Other patients are now getting access because of this boy's situation. And here he is having to travel all the way to Canada because of a bureaucratic paper nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody did not file. They're not saying whose fault it is. There was one document that needed to be filed with the registrar in time to allow the shipment to clear customs. That document wasn't filed in the correct timeline. It was several days late in being filed, so it was not accepted. So that means the entire process has to start again with the next prescription because this one won't make it in time, which means he has choice A, do without the medication and die possibly, or choice B, travel to Canada and get the prescription refilled in person.
And the last time he ran out of cannabis, the oil, within 12 hours, he was receiving emergency treatment.
Yeah, he was, told, this is possibly an end of life. It's a deathbed situation. It was bad. It was really bad. The kid could have very easily died. So, of course, given that choice, Mom and Billy are packing up and making the journey back to Canada once again to get the prescription refilled. Now, when they returned to Ireland last time with medication in hand, that's when this nightmare for them began, and the medication was confiscated. What's to prevent that from happening again with an ill-advised or uneducated border guard when they land next time?
Exactly. They could be going through all this over again. Like, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, everybody agrees that this is going to help him. But and it's proven to help him, but to have to travel all the way back here to Canada to get his medication, is ridiculous. This should have been, what's the word I'm looking for? Done through quickly, expedited, or whatever the word is. It's top priority, but
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It should have been done very, very quickly, as you say. It should have been expedited immediately. Whoever is responsible for dropping the ball on this paperwork, I hope they lose their job because, this is something that you don't drop the ball on.
No, exactly. And, they always say, what about the children?
Yeah. What about the children? Exactly.
Exactly. This is just, Well, I'm sure we will be updating our listeners on this as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be following it closely and watching for when Billy and his mom land and get their medication and once again follow their journey home.
Yeah, and he's coming to Toronto.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice if there was some people that could greet him there, but I don't know how many people out there actually know his story. So
yeah. Yeah, well, we'll do our best to broadcast that, Al, and let the people know. And hopefully he gets a good reception from the cannabis community in the Southern Ontario region when they land.
That's right. Yes. We'll share that far and wide.
For sure.
All right, let's move on to our last story of the day.
Yeah, international news. We're heading all the way down to Lebanon.
Yeah, I always think when I hear Lebanon, I always think of wars.
Yeah. Most people do.
yeah, but Lebanon is looking at legalizing the growing of cannabis in order to help boost the country's troubled economy.
Yeah, they're looking at it as an economic boom for their country. They are recovering. They were war-torn at one time. They are recovering nicely. They've got a lot of industry going on, but they need jobs. They need a new industry, some export material and that kind of thing, and they're looking at cannabis to solve that problem.
Yes. They come in here in order to learn the trade, I guess, eh?
Yeah, they've sent some people over that are going to learn about growing and the entire effort as it goes forth. And they're going to take all that information back to Lebanon and look at starting their own productions.
Well, they've got skyrocketing unemployment, slow growth, civil wars going on. And you know what? They are the world's third largest producer of hashish.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder if we can get that included, in this new law that they can start sending some hashish this way.
Yeah, let's make a trade, We got some nice BC Big Bud we can give you in trade for some nice, nice Lebanese red wrap, eh? Haven't had that for a while. But yeah, the repercussions could be great for trade around the world once this happens in more places. As countries become legal and we have free and open market and open trade, the prospects are astounding.
That's right. Well, according to a spokesperson, the Lebanese government has asked some people to evaluate the impact of cannabis legalization as part of over 150 ways in order to boost their economy. So it's good to see that they're including that in there.
Yeah, fantastic news coming out of Lebanon for sure.
If they make great hash, if they're making great hash, what's their cannabis like?
Yeah, exactly. It's so hot there and everything. They could probably produce a fantastic plant. So I'm excited to see what comes out of Lebanon.
Yeah. It'd be interesting. See what happens. And more countries are getting on board too, eh?
Yeah, Thailand's looking at it. Zimbabwe and so many others.
Yeah, that's right. So it's good to see, and it's something that can, like I say, bring back their economy. Now, they would probably, I would think that in the beginning, I don't know how much, if they've got a bad economy, they got people, high unemployment, people with money, would most of the product have to be shipped out of the country and sold in order to, sell it?
I don't know. I think there's a lot of people that are doing a lot of innovative things with cannabis and making products and medicines and salves and lotions, bath bombs. And all of these products that are out that we see in the marketplace here in Canada today. It's an evolving marketplace out there with so many entrepreneurs coming up with so many great ideas. I can see it taking off in its own right as just a new enterprise that would take hold just about anywhere.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Thailand, and they're looking at legalizing medical cannabis in their country as well. And they say for the best strains of the cannabis in the world for the last 20 years, Thailand was the place to go. Like, everybody's heard about Thai stick.
Yep, everybody's heard about Thai stick. And, going into the mountain ranges, like some of the great seed hunters across the country and across the world have done, finding some original strains and stuff. That all exists in these places. So they have a wealth of opportunity to reintroduce some very ancient strains back into the marketplace.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I'd like to see that done. Get more strains. Yeah,
for sure.
For sure.
Growing across the globe.
Yes, it is. And here, everybody thinks it's just happening in Canada. She's growing.
It's growing
for
across
sure.
the globe. No
Yeah,
doubt about that.
Yeah, I read in one article there. Oh, here it is right here. I say, since Canada legalized cannabis, countries around the world are seeking to get a slice of what some predict will be a $32 billion global market by 2022.
Imagine. Now there's a number for you.
Yeah. And I'm sure they'd like a little piece of the pie.
Yeah, for sure. I
Yeah.
mean, it could mean a prosperous economic future for so many. And I'm glad to see that, it's burning like wildfires in Ontario right now across the globe and taking hold in governments and the higher ups that run these places all over the place.
That's right. Okay, Kim, we got any more? That was our last story.
That was our last story for the day. It was a busy week. We narrowed it down to those 14. I think we did pretty good. And you and Irene will be back with more next week.
Yes, Irene. She joined us last week for her debut of the show. And Green Irene will be back next week to do the second round.
Yeah, for sure. I enjoy doing the alternate weeks with her. I'm enjoying the days off. I need them. So it's great to have her on board, picking up some of my slack.
Yeah. And she told me she really enjoyed it, and she's posted it all online, and a lot of people listened. So yeah, I think she's going to be really comfortable in the thing. And the two of us had never really worked together before. And that was the first time, really, in that situation. There was no practicing or anything. And we did all right.
Just do it. Yeah, just do it. Just do her up. Right. And I mean, I listened in, of course, and you guys did great. It was fantastic. It was great having her on board, and I look forward to hearing you guys next week. Sitting back and doing my thing while I get to just listen in.
That's right. Okay. That's our Reefer Report for July 25th. And in closing, we'd like to say thank you for listening to our cannabis broadcast. If you enjoyed it, as always, please share it with your friends, relatives, and strangers. Until next time, don't forget to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate.
Bark at you later.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
Celebrate Indigenous Awakening at Legacy 420's first outdoor music fest, August 11th on the Tyendinaga Mohawk Territory. Featuring Headstones, DJ Shub, Murray Porter, and more, with host MC Howie Miller. Opening drum ceremony at 12 noon. Medicinal, food, and Indigenous vendors and artists. Free camping. Tickets $75 at legacy420.com. A 19 and over event. Indigenous Awakening, Saturday, August 11th on Tyendinaga Mohawk Territory. Take Highway 401, exit 556.
Sponsored by NIMCA and Legacy 420.
So what are you doing? Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.